How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today, I have a guest, one temporarily offline, and we're going to be talking about all things Xiegu. That's right, Eric N7LPK Xiegu. So enjoy the memes, and we'll get started real soon. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Appreciate you coming on out. We're going to get right to the fun really quick, so I just have a couple of links I'll show for you, and then we'll bring on Steve. So check out hamtactical.com, the merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course, and now the home for hamtactical.coffee. So if you like coffee, we have a Coffee of the Month program, and Ratchet Strap Coffee just went out, and there are a little bit of jokes that we have from the Ham Radio Crash Course podcast. Also, podcast related, we have an ad-free podcast that is on Patreon. So if you follow on Patreon, we're now dropping that over there ad-free. So if you don't like the weird AI ads that get put on our podcast, go check it out over there. It's a fast way to get it without ads. Anyway, so who's joining me today? Well, it's Steve, temporarily offline. I was looking at the community tab. Those are the questions that you guys posted. We're going to go through some of those. But Steve's joined me temporarily offline. Covers a lot of fun stuff. If you've ever been to his Nugget show on Mondays, they kind of go through and deep dive problems, like live troubleshooting, which, to be honest with you, is a really good idea, and I wish I had thought of it. But the value of it is it gets you the It gets you the idea of thinking about what goes into actually troubleshooting problems. A lot of times, us YouTubers, we just show you the pretty side of things. The reality is we're smashing our head into the keyboard and onto our radios more often than not, trying to get things to work. So go check out Steve, subscribe to it, make sure you check out his videos. He does good stuff. So let's bring him on. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good to see you.
The best part about Nuggets is like success is not guaranteed, and I'm a big fan of that. Like, you come up with a show once a week, you know what it's like. How do you plan for a show, set up the whole intro and everything? No, we have no idea what we're doing. We'll figure it out together. The community in the chat is just yelling at us, telling us what to do, telling us how we're doing it wrong, telling us how to do it right sometimes. Takes a village.
It's fun because it also kind of keeps your, mental space of trying new things strong, right? Because you're always looking at something new. You're like, oh,
for sure,
that's fun. We'll do that on Monday and figure out how it goes. You know what I mean? So it's very cool, very, very nominal, nice idea, and I think it helps people out a lot. So, yeah, thanks for joining me out here. I know you're traveling the country and you got some time here to hop on the live stream, so I appreciate you coming out.
Definitely. Yeah. So I live full time in an RV, which is why I have probably the world's smallest ham shack going on here. This is like 6 foot by 7 foot. We're rocking like the whole 70 square foot space thing going on, and I even lost some over here to the curvature of the roof.
Oh, right.
So
yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense and why you have an interest in Xiegu radios, because they're oftentimes smaller than the larger ones. So 6200 just came out, the X6200, which is an interesting radio because it's kind of like the spiritual successor of the 6100. How are things kind of going on that front? Because I know you went hard in the 6100 to get Linux opened up on it and do all kinds of fun stuff. What's going on in that space with the 6200 right now?
Yeah, there's not a lot of activity in that space yet. The stuff that was done on the 6100 can't be done on the 6200 because they changed the internal receiver.
I didn't know
so
that.
The 6100 is a series of modules. So you have like it's like a Raspberry Pi. It's not a Raspberry Pi, but it's like a Raspberry Pi module. And then you have Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth module, and then you have an STM32 that controls the SDR, and then you can see like the filter board. If you open it up, and don't do it because it's a very tight, compact thing in there, and you might not get it back together, or you might burn your house down. If you open it up, you'll see all of these different modules. And I think as they've progressed in the manufacturing stages of the 6100, now they're actually not like modules glued onto PCBs to receive modules. They're actually like built in, but I don't have a new one to take apart. That's just kind of hearsay on my side.
Okay.
And there's some updates on the G90. We'll talk about those too. But that was a Linux computer that had an STM32 to control the SDR. The 6200 is a Linux computer that has a different SDR with a different core. So if you look at your G90, you'll see it says G core,
Yeah.
Golf core on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the X6100, I don't think it's on the radio. I think it might be in the manual. It is also the Golf core, the G core. But the
Oh.
X6200 is the D core, Delta core. And so there's something different going on inside, and it's supposed to have direct up conversion, direct down conversion receiver technology.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I haven't figured out a good way to test and demonstrate the differences between those yet. So there are some differences, but like our buddy Oleg from Russia, R1CBU, made a custom firmware that fully replaces Xiegou's interface inside and then talks to the SDR on the 6100. That does not work on the 6200. And
Oh.
Oleg kind of lost some of his excitement for making the firmware, the custom firmware, because he ran into a wall with Xiegu, and Xiegu was like, nope, we're not going to give up our proprietary technology to you. And, so he's still making some updates, but not with the level of excitement and intensity that he had in the beginning. And I can totally understand that.
Interesting. Okay. So, comment from the chat, Tio, your video is synced a little bit behind the audio, but you're obviously remote right now. So everybody in the chat, that's just the way things work when you're traveling around, and we should all just be happy he's here with us right now. So, all right. So many questions on kind of looking at the Xiegu line of radios. I think you've looked at all of them. I think I've looked at all of them too. And I think the two standout models are obviously the G90 and the X6200. When you're talking about Xiegu radios and people are asking you about them, like, what do you generally bring up if they're like, hey, I'm looking for a radio that does XYZ ... What do you say depending on what they're looking for?
It's a really tough call. Mike N2MAK asked this question on the X's, on the Twitters, on the Twixes. I don't know what we call these things anymore, because saying something on X is, I don't know, kind of bad in my mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like, which one would you take with you? And they both have their selling points. The G90 has more power. It's got a smaller screen. It's got kind of that man pack format where you can, look down, top down at it in a bag. You can't do that with the 6100 or the 6200 or the 5105. And there's some merit to that. I think both radios have the same capability of tuner. I might want to do a shootout on that one of these days. Put the two of them next to each other and see what can tune up and what can't tune up what. Because I think it's the same tuner board inside, technology wise. Number of things that it can tune wise. It really comes down to, like, where do you want to be in your own personal hobby journey? Do you want to, like, make contacts, no frills? I just want to get out there and make contacts. The G90 is probably the better one, with more power and less stuff going on.
Yeah.
And if you want to tinker, if you want to be on the cutting edge of whatever it is you want to be on the cutting edge of, then the 6200 has all that internal hacking and tinkering stuff. Somebody just needs to pick up the torch and run with it to bring the latest Linux distribution to the 6200 and make it work. And it's not hard to get the Linux side of it working. It's hard to get the radio interface side of it working. So the easy thing to do would be to put like a version of Debian on it, or Armbian to be more precise. And then the display that you see on the 61 and 6200 is a Qt app. If you guys are, developers, you'll know what Qt is. If not, it's just an application. And so you can just run that app as a Linux desktop application once you get the Linux desktop installed. Now you're dealing with this, 5.5-inch screen, but there's ways around that too. It's, if you're a hacker, 6200's your way. If you just want to, like, bang out contacts and do POTAs or SOTAs or whatever, then the G90. The only drawback, this is like, we're splitting hairs here on both sides of this. The G90 doesn't have an internal battery.
Right. Yes. Actually, that's one of the things I look at for portable radios is the internal battery. So I can just take it everywhere with me. Everything's inside the radio. You just go. That's why having a tuner's nice too in some cases. This is a question. I don't know. Did you ever look at the G-Sock?
I did. It was I'm going to say it out loud. It's a horrible disappointment. I don't think anybody disagrees with me on that front, though.
I don't think so. Yeah, we got a comment. G-Sock needs more eyes on it also. I don't know if anybody wants to look at the G-Sock.
It does.
Are they doing anything in that?
But it only works with the G90.
That's right. Yeah.
It's dead, as far as I can tell. You might have been able to run it with the 6100 with the IQ cable, but there wasn't any cat control. And then they abandoned IQ out on the X6100, and it's not at all on the 6200. So they're done with that GSOC as far as all outward. Like they're giving you all these hints. Like we're kind of done with that. There hasn't been a firmware update in a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with the new radios. The new radios are missing the features. Like that's a G90 device. And where I
Yeah.
would go on any of these modern radios, I don't know. Have you seen this, Josh? The Quantum SDR.
I don't think so. What is that?
It is like
Pull it up.
it's like a 5-inch, maybe a 4-inch screen, and it connects to the 817, 818, the 891, the G90.
Oh, look at that.
It's kind of radio agnostic as they're continuing to develop it.
Let me pull it up
And
right now and get you
I
that
want to
on
get
here.
my hands on it, but
Yeah. So
yeah,
take a look at that.
it's
That's
a pretty
pretty
slick little
cool.
thing.
Is this out or
Oh, it's on the
like
Elecraft also. Yeah, it's been out for like a year and a half now. There's the G90. Yep.
honestly, that's the aside from the internal power, which I think you're totally right on. That's kind of the hardest thing for people on the G90 is the screen, particularly if you know if you
Small
need,
screen.
your eyes aren't great. It's really a small screen, and there's some incredibly minute details in there that you sometimes can't you can't get fully in the sun too. It also helps makes it a little difficult. So that's interesting. How much of these things are they out yet? Or no, you said they are out.
Yeah. Yeah, they are out. They've been out for over a year now. Oh, I've seen that radio. What is that? The SOC, the SGC?
Yeah, it's a GOC or sorry SGC radio, the SG2 the 2020. A local ham had one, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking to sell it." I'm like, "I'll buy it and do a video on it." And he's like, "Okay, I'm looking to get like $900 out of it." I'm like, "Bro, it's like 2 decades old, man. I don't think so."
It's a Rose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a rhinoceros. It's a rugged portable radio. It's neat, but it's not that neat.
No, and it's of an older age, right? Where it's not really it doesn't have many of the line the what you call standard features like a 7300 would have. It's that of that era.
Yeah.
All right. So
the G90 is also harder to do digital on, since we're still talking about that. They did upgrade. They got rid of the CE, the Charlie Echo
the
C19 device.
Yeah.
I have to say that because they changed their product name from Charlie Echo to Delta Echo. Like, why couldn't you make it a little farther apart in letters, like CE to FE or something like that?
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be
my CE19 device is gone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next question: is how are you interfacing your Xiegu radios? Because I took a look at the G106 when it came out, and they shipped it with the DE19, which I quite liked the DE. I like the DE19, but it's like $70, and I'm like, oh, so the DigiRig is a little bit cheaper than that. So what do you generally do?
So the DE19 gives you cat control, amp control, audio in and out, and then it's a USB-C connection to your computer. So if you are going to get the Xiegu amp, then the DE19 is better than the DigiRig. And if you're not going to get the Xiegu amp, then the DigiRig is more functional with more radios.
Oh. Okay. I didn't
so it's the amp question. And you can solve the amp problem without the DE19.
Didn't the CE19 also have the plug for the amp? Or
It does, yeah.
Yep.
But it comes with all these bare wires, and you got to make your own cables and connectors, and it's not in a polished product box. It's like two PCBs sandwiched together. Somebody phoned that in on a Friday.
So have they moved away from the CE19 then, and they've gone to the DE19 now totally? Is that basically where they're pushing everybody?
I don't have any official inside knowledge, but like, again, that just makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all speculation and hearsay. I don't want to lead anybody astray, but if you're buying something new, don't buy the CE19. You're just asking for trouble.
Oh, gotcha. And super chat from Adventures in Blind Videography, $4.99. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate that. And yeah, I know we've talked.
Hey, Shane.
He's been on a couple of times to talk about different radios. Talk about that for a second. What's the accessibility of some of these radios? Have Xiegu looked at that from a firmware standpoint of people who may be vision impaired and whatnot?
I would say the G106 is probably the best version of the radio for that, and that's because number one, there's not much to it. It doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, so it's hard to not be accessible. There's only a couple of buttons on the front. The G90, you have to push the function button
Mm-hmm.
one way in order to get it to do something, and another way to get it to do
Yes.
something else, and the multi-knob. And so it's all of this stuff that you need to be able to see that you've, like, I have or have not pushed the button. And ham radio in general kind of sucks for vision impaired people,
Yeah.
because Shane and I talk a lot about this stuff on the back channel, and it's hard to, like, Shane's got a 705. I mean, a touchscreen for the visually impaired is
Yeah, it's a
impossible.
non-starter. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. He says he has a G90 and he loves it though. So I'm guessing that there's got to be some standard processes that are, I guess, straight or forward. But yeah, I would think that the function button would be a little problematic because they really only use like a light to indicate whether it's on or off, right? And you don't really
Right.
know other than
Right.
that because the beeps
Well,
are
I mean,
the same.
even your Baofeng UV5R is actually really advanced for visually impaired operators, because it'll speak to you on most things. But like, if
Oh,
you go to set a PL tone on a repeater, it'll say, RT, CT, CSS, and
mhm.
then what are there, like 300 choices inside that menu that it doesn't say a single one of, and you don't
Yep.
know where you were in the menu to begin with. So was I on 110.9 and I wanted to go to 67,
Hmm.
and is it up or down? And then usually the up or down button is backwards on import radios like that.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's you know, I I have trouble recommending any radio for visually impaired. I usually try to send people to Shane so Shane can make the recommendation.
Seriously, yeah. Another super chat from Jerry. He asks, now that the 6200 is
Hey,
out, do
Jerry.
you think they will work on the G90 successor? Hmm. I think we're
So they
speculating.
have, Josh, you're gonna love this. They
Mhm.
have come out with a new G90, and they've
Uh,
changed only two things, but they're two very important things.
yeah. The power plug on the back, and then what's the other one?
So the power plug on the back is now power poles and not that weird, flimsy, lightweight
The melty
connector.
connector.
So that's nice.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing is it has an internal fan now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
And
other than that, it's the exact same. It's the same chassis and everything.
is the fan strong enough to handle digital modes and not need the sled?
I would need to get one. I did a
Oh, I
video
see.
with the
Okay.
sled with I did I did a temperature probe on it with running FT8, and I think I got it up to like 100 degrees or something before I backed it off,
Oh, wow.
because I think the operating range is like 60. So like I was well above operating parameters. And then I put that fan on while it was hot, and I like flipped the switch on and watched the temperature come down in the video. And that fan sled made a big difference, but it is bulky. And I mean, we call that the AK-47 of ham radios, because it looks like somebody just bolted a couple of pieces together, and adding that fan just
I,
improves that.
I have the original fan, which I'll show, which is affectionately known as the hand
Yeah,
chopper,
that one.
because it is just open,
Yes.
right? It's just open up, and I have actually cut myself, and I know Tank Radio did as well. So I 3D printed a grill for it because I was cutting my hands on the thing. But yeah, that's good to hear. Where is the fan on the new one?
It's inside the radio. The case is the
Oh,
same dimensions, but the fan is now inside. So I don't know how big it is or what, but since it's inside and it's not trying to, blow heat off of the metal case outside,
mm-hmm.
it's got to be, it has a fighting chance of being more effective. I need to get one, but what do you need two G90s for?
I was gonna say, yeah. You considering it, the only upgrades are the power plug, which I think enough of them melted that they're like, we may need to do something about this. But the fan, that's probably also helpful, because I imagine some people probably bricked their G90 not knowing they needed the fan sled, and then that
Yeah.
led to that potential
They're asking
upgrade.
me in the chat. It was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but I'm just going off of memory. It was triple digits.
Right.
So,
Hot.
it's in the video.
Enough that it was like that could be a problem over a long period. Gingerbeard Geek asks, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Gingerbeard. First time watching live.
Nice.
It's one here. Big fan of your channel, Josh, and also of Steve's. Currently an SWL and owner of a X5105. Thanks to both of you. I'm just figuring it out, just like you guys. Yeah, the 5105 was one of my first Soda radios, and I had very little problems with it. It was actually a pretty good radio. The problem is it overheated. So if you climbed up to the top of a summit where there's no trees and you set that thing up and started operating on it, it would transmit and go no problem, and then it would get too hot and it would just shut off, and then you'd have to like get it in the shade or build some kind of contraption around it to keep it cool, because you'd be off the air then after that. It was pretty wild. Did you ever play with that radio?
Right. The what was I thought you were talking about the G90. What radio are you
No,
talking about that overheated?
5105.
Oh, the 5105. I had one for a while when the 6100 came out. Shane Scout 75 let me borrow it, but there was so much going on with the 6100. I never even had a chance to turn it on. I would like to get one, but then, what are you going to do with it since the 61 and 62 are out?
Yeah. And the 5105 is a much more bass radio, not as many features as both the 6100 and 6200. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
The Piper 69 said, I received an email about a question that I asked, and Radioddity told me the new model is in some warehouse in China. They provided me a link if I want the new version. That was last Saturday. So is that for the G90? I'm guessing so, the new one. But yeah.
I've been asking them if they're shipping the new version. I can't guarantee it, but they're shipping the new version. So, if you order one, you have a good 50% chance of getting the new version. But I would definitely ask first. And once I hear officially from Radioddity, I'll put a post out that says, hey, if you can guaranteed get the new one.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing where you should probably wait or ask if you can to get it. You might want to make sure you do that if you guys are interested. But yeah, I would think that they'd want to blow out the
because Abe ordered one
quick.
And he got the new version.
Oh.
And we weren't expecting it. We didn't know it existed. He's like, I thought this thing had a weird power connector. I'm like, it does. What are you talking about? It just showed up on his doorstep brand new.
Oh, wow. Did he order it through Radioddity or Amazon?
I don't even know where he ordered it from. It was one of those, late night, colorful drink induced purchases.
Oh, yes. Well, colorful drink for him is Miller, right?
Miller Lite, yeah.
I think we got a couple of comments. I know you posted that question on your community tab. Let's see if we.
Yeah, I've got them pulled up on my side.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Then
okay.
We'll pick one out of there. What do you want to try and cover here?
Let's see. Oh, there's 18. Wow.
Yeah, you gotta get a good chunk.
They're all good. I have amazing followers. Eamon says, "Love my G90. I'll be tuned in. Looking forward to it. Love my G90. My biggest problem with Xiegu is the lack of a circuit diagram. Everything in my shack has a manual and or service manuals." That's from Steve Edwards. Steve, if you're watching, shoot me a message on the Discord, and I have some diagrams I can send to you, but they're out there if you Google hard enough.
That's helpful.
Let's see. From Don, my buddy Don N5SKT with Josh, and I know Adam will be in the chat. I would at least spend some time talking about CW. I don't do a lot of CW operating, but there is a problem with all the Xiegu radios, and it's something to do with using an iambic paddle. So if you're a straight keyer, I haven't heard anybody complain about this, but if you use a paddle set, I think it sends an extra character at the end, and it's not iambic A or iambic B. It just sends an extra character at the end. So iambic A is what happens when you let go, and iambic B is something else happens when you let go, and then Xiegu does a third thing when you let go. And I'm not expert enough to have run into that problem or to have switched out of iambic A.
Right. So that's the squeeze mechanic, right? Is iambic B or A or B?
The squeeze, yeah. So you start off with dit, and then you squeeze, and you get da 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 da, and you start off with da, and you squeeze, and you get da 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 da. And then when you let go, it either sends one more of whatever was left in the queue to send, or it doesn't send one more. Is A or B? Is my understanding.
Oh,
and then the Xiegu does a third thing that's not part of the standard.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably not helpful for CW guys. I'm not good enough to squeeze key. I just go do bounce back and forth.
Yeah, I don't squeeze. I want to learn, but I'm already too far down the rabbit hole of not doing it the right way in the first place. So big pro tip from the non-pro CWer here.
Right.
If you're going to do a paddle and you're going to do squeeze and you're going to learn CW, learn at the rate of speed that you want to send at, Farnsworth included, and then learn squeeze from the get-go. Because otherwise you have to learn it and then unlearn it and then relearn it. So why do it 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's I think that might be why the Long Island CW Club, they always recommend people start on like a straight key, because you can always get into paddling later, but you don't want to do it wrong. I guess pick up the bad habits from that. So, uh, uh,
Yeah.
this one, Piper 69, we
So
kind of already covered
Chris is
it.
asking if I'll be after
Oh,
the show.
go ahead, say that. Go. What were you gonna say?
All right, go ahead. We'll do both. So I'll be around for the after show for
Cool.
sure.
Excellent.
And then looking into an HF radio between the G90 or the 6100. I would not recommend the 6100 unless you're getting a special deal on it, only because the 6200's out and there's a 2 watts difference isn't going to hurt you.
Right.
But between the G90 and the 6200, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, and it's probably best to replay that.
Yeah. I if you're super portable and you don't want to carry a G90 in a backpack, then go with the 6200. Otherwise, the G90 brings some good options. You need a battery too, so
Yeah.
make sure you're carrying that. I will mention then the after chat or the Ham Radio Crash Course over on our Discord. Link is in the video description. Somebody asked if Discord is free. Yeah, Discord's free. Nobody charges anything for Discord. It's kind of like a chat room. But we have an after chat where we take your questions live on the air. Now we're mainly talking about Xiegu, but in the after chat it's open to anything, your heart's content. So, Corpse a lot, my buddy Lars. Corpse a lot asks, says, super chat, thank you for that. I ordered my G90 from Amazon and got the new one. Ordered the cooling fan from Radioddity and got the new one with the power poles. Oh, okay, very good. Yeah,
Nice.
so I don't know that we know enough information about what the supplies are and where things are shipping from what place. So be careful on doing that if you're trying to get the new one.
I wish that they would send us like a little press release, like
Oh, that would be
every
helpful.
every Friday morning, wake up and here's all the news from Xiegu. That would be fantastic. And yeah, I say Xiegu and I say solder also.
Yeah.
I'm American.
I think gosh, I think most companies should probably do that. Send us a little blurb of,
Yeah.
hey, here's what's new, and oh, by the way, here's the links to all the manuals, and here's the links to the blah blah blah, and then you can go and do your research a lot faster, because otherwise we go off looking for all this junk, and it always takes a while. Chris Bricker asked, does the G90 have the SWR meter too? Yes.
So there's 2 things that are going on there. It does have the SWR meter when you're like talking or tuning around the band, and then it has the SWR scanner, the sweep function that will, it's kind of like an antenna analyzer, and it's actually a really good thing to have in a radio. I don't know why more radio manufacturers don't include it. Like ICOM has it, but it's a moment in time, and it doesn't go out of band, so you can't tell like if your antenna is long or short. Good luck. That little window that it shows you. And it, the Xiegu is actually an antenna analyzer, and it will show you, from the beginning of the sweep to the end of the sweep, whatever your parameters are. So if it's too long to trim it, if it's too short to trim it, you can I can see where my antenna is resonant, not just where I'm allowed to transmit.
I have 6200 with a 101 firmware on it. I think I don't know the full name of it, but I guess one of the more recent ones.
Yeah.
And I can't get that SWR meter, the actual plot, to work correctly. Is there some trick, or were they having problems with it? Do you know?
I don't know, but the answer is probably yes, there's a trick, and yes, they were having problems with it, because that's how Xiegu is.
Why don't you, if you could, because I think you might have an overhead. Oh, you don't have an antenna set up. That's right. I don't want to.
I don't have an antenna set up, but I can still run the scanner.
While you're opening that
I'll try
case
it out.
up, why don't you tell people while you're traveling what antenna you set up if you're running the G90 or the 6200?
Well, so over at Coffee and Ham Radios, we build antennas, and so I'm always setting something up or playing with something or testing something. I've got a 9-to-1 on the wrong core here that we're playing with, so it just depends on what I'm doing. I don't have any antenna set up right now,
Right?
So it just depends on what week it is. I'm supposed to be doing a POTA. I don't have New Mexico on my activated all states map yet, so I'm still working on that. So let me switch cameras here.
I'll drop the link for
and see if this actually works.
They got a number of cool antennas. Oh, let me get you. There is Steve's 6200.
And I play with all kinds of antennas anyway. So let's do app button, and then SWR scan, and then start. and she's running. So nothing special on my end. Of course, it's going to be, it's not actually putting out any signal because there's no antenna. So it was smart enough. I guess I would need some kind of wire or something. What could I do? Let's do the Abri antenna because it's a BNC connector. I know it's not resonant on 40 meters, but that's kind of the point.
We're going
So let's
handheld mobile
again.
with the 6200 right now.
There was a spike.
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a spike because I had the tuner on. Let me stop that, turn the tuner off. You can't turn the tuner off while you're in scan app mode. Okay, so now we've turned that off. Let's go into app, SWR scan, start. Yeah.
I wonder if that
And it's
blip
still
was
clicking
because
away.
I think that blip was your hand by it, maybe.
That's just when it's starting. So I'd say it's broken. Yeah, so whenever I hit the start button is when I get a blip on the screen. So I started it twice. There's 3 times. But it's also clicking away at the relays inside. There's a relay. There's a relay. Yeah, so it's still... Yeah, that's just weird. That's not working the way it should work.
Yeah, I have an antenna hooked up on mine.
So,
let me see if I can get this going real fast. So let me do, what'd you say, app, right? SWR scan.
Yep.
Start. Oh, it's a little bit. There's...
Yeah, you're seeing some activity there.
A little bumpy.
Is your antenna that good on 20 meters?
Yes. But I thought it had more... Oh, it's relatively short. It goes from 14.03. No, it shouldn't be that good. It should not be that good.
So in the middle, there's a step button. Hit the step button and see if you can...
Let me do that. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I'd say it's broken.
Nah, I don't think it's that good, my antenna.
So I'm going to change up to the 6200 and see if that's going to give me a different result.
Okay.
And so this is, let me change my camera again because I changed it back. So I have this little Go box for the 6100.
Cool. Yeah.
And there's, I actually like this because it's like the exact size that you need for everything in the 6100. So there's my ham radio license there. There's a band plan there. When I fold this down, it's got room for all of my cables up there. So I've got a power cable, the amp cable, a USB cable for data, and then a power delivery USB-C PD cable with a 5525 on the other end.
Ooh, that's nice.
So you can actually run the radio off of one of these little battery packs.
Yeah. I've been loving the PD stuff.
You got to make sure that the battery pack puts out 12 volts in the first place. A lot of them, like, they remove 12 volts from the spec. So inside of the case, I have a microphone that KM4CFT made.
Slick.
And it's got the 45, the RJ45 connector on the other end. And I've got this, cotton braided short 1 foot long cable because it comes with like a 3 foot long coiled monster cable.
Yeah.
It's just a regular Ethernet cable. So get a short Ethernet cable for it. Okay. And then I have a little bag here with some filters in it. These come from Dan K9DP, and you can get these as kits, or you can get these already made. And these are, he makes bandpass filters that are this size. They handle 20 watts. They work on all the Xiegu products. And what this does is the Xiegu radios suffer from broadcast band interference, broadcast band overload. Mm-hmm. So he's got it in female-female and male-female, so it can kind of just go inline. If you're going to use this, take it off, run the tuning cycle, put it back on, and then it will get rid of all of the AM broadcast overload.
What's the deal with that?
I've got an adapter to get to regular coax.
Why do you think they continue to have that
I think
problem?
It's just... Well, I don't know, but I would speculate that it's, they're just not really in an area where they have a lot of AM broadcast radio, so it doesn't affect them at all. Mm-hmm. And then there is the 6100, and the 6100 has this kit you can get to put this frame on to protect your buttons and your screen and your case, and it has the paracord Cobra weave handle that you have to make yourself, and I made a video of like failing at making this 5,000 times in a row.
Okay. That's your tactical handle.
Yeah, I mean, it actually it works really well. It
Yeah,
works better than I
absolutely.
thought it would.
Yeah.
And
I
I
like the
didn't hold the
look
power
of
button down long enough.
I like the look of the 6100 with the plates on the side. That's I think that's almost a better look than the 6200. I mean, I like the handles too, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
There it is. So the 6100, while it's booting up, has metal side plates, and you're not going to be able to see it very well on camera, but near this IQ out port that's dead, there's a little plastic sticker that goes over the hole in the side of the metal plate, and that is where the Wi-Fi antenna and the Bluetooth antenna is. And otherwise, this thing is a solid metal case all around. So it's nice and rugged, but
Right.
I mean, as hams, we know that ain't going to work. So the Wi-Fi in this is lousy,
Yeah.
and the Wi-Fi in the 6200 is better because it's plastic side panels, metal top, plastic back. Oh, another thing that the 6200 has is a removable battery in the back. So you can actually carry a spare battery with you, and it's easier to get out than it is, than I'm making it look on camera. But that's a pretty slim little battery.
Yep.
And that also makes it user replaceable. You can carry a couple of those with you. On the internal battery, like any other QRP radio, it doesn't put out the same amount of power. So I'm going to go into, this is a 6100 again. I'm going to go into app. I've got no antenna attached. I'm going to do SWR scan. Don't do this. Oh, look, see, it works.
Yeah,
because I mean, with no antenna, I should have 10-to-1 plus SWR. It's basically saying infinite SWR. Now we're going to put the wrong antenna on because it's the easiest one that I have with me. And I like to do things with radios that people shouldn't do. Like, obviously, you shouldn't run anything that transmits without an antenna.
Right. Got to know.
So there's the Abri, and the Abri antenna is definitely not supposed to be resonant on 20 meters. So let's go up a band, up to 50, which would be as close as you could get it.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's exit out of there. Let's run a tune cycle.
Oh, man.
And you can see the internal SWR meter there, and I think it tuned.
Did it tune it?
Oh,
wow. That's pretty.
It tuned the Abri on 6
funny.
meters.
That's funny.
That's hilarious. I love it. And it tuned it quick too. I was shocked.
That it did find a solution pretty fast there.
Tuned.
Wow. That's funny. There's your new
and I'm getting
6
signal.
meter
That's
handheld. Yeah, what is that?
No, that's just garbage. That's an artifact on the waterfall.
Ah. Oh, yeah, it's just sitting there.
Which is a problem that, my radio has had this problem off and on. There's a dead spot. For like half a second while it changes internal filters, there's a little dead spot at 5100.
When you run digital modes on the Xiegus, are you running full power or do you dial it back?
It really depends on your operating conditions. It's heat dependent. So I will run full power if I have the ability to keep the radio cool.
Okay. The fan helps on the G90, but
yeah,
I guess you'd know whether if it starts getting real hot, stop doing that. Right.
Yeah. But there's no temperature gauge on these radios. On the 705, there's a temperature gauge.
Yes.
So it'll tell you if it's hot. This one here, it'll just fail. And usually, don't do this, but usually it will just turn itself off.
Yeah. It'll take it to the point where it needs a timeout. It'll let you do that. I always run the 705 full throttle. I don't mess with it, but I've not tried the 6200, but the G90 I also generally run at full power, but I'm on the fan sled, which I don't think I would do that if I didn't have the sled.
It's always funny. I made a video recently about a micro man pack using the Xiegu FT90 radio, and I put it in a bag, and all the comments are, "What are you doing about the heat?" I'm an intelligent operator. I am operating within, heat parameters. If the radio gets hot or I'm going to do extended data modes or anything, I take it out of the bag.
Sure. Sure.
It's like that was never an option for these people. It's funny.
What have you seen a G90 Go box? Corpselot asks, what is a good Go box for the G90? I guess make your own, but what have you seen out there?
So there is this company on eBay called BD7 Maple,
Hmm.
and this is like a this is the one. This has my G90 in it.
Okay.
And the fan sled does fit in here. It just gets a little thicker. Let me switch over and I'll show you what all is in this case here. And there's a lot of different choices for the G90 on eBay. There's a hard case. This is a soft-sided case,
Hmm.
and that one. And there is also KK4PAL. Bill has an Apache case with a Raspberry Pi 400 built into it. And
Oh,
inside of that case, he's got
that's real
you
slick.
know, the Pi 400. He's got a full screen. He's got an FT8 setup going on. So this is not a purpose-built G90 case. This is just a case that somebody put a G90 into. And again, you can get this on eBay under BD7 Maple is the guy that does it. So there's the head separation cable. I've got a couple of replacement power connectors for the G90. And then if we look here, I've got, what is this? This is an amp keying
Yeah.
cable. This is the cat control cable. This is the power cord. That's the CE19 in a 3D printed case. This is a spare 8-pin cable on the back that I can cut all up and get rid of. And that's the one side of the case. And then we flip the case upside down. I think upside down. No, not upside down. You just undo the lower zipper. And then there's room for another cable. So I have another spare 8-pin cable up there. And then the radio itself is held in place by two elastic straps, like bungee style
Uh-huh.
straps
Yep.
that have Velcro on them. And then I've got the microphone up top here, and then the radio itself. And then I did another cool modification to my G90. I'll have to get it out of the bag to show y'all. Ready for this?
Uh-huh. Yes. Oh,
Abalone.
that's like CB knobs.
Yeah.
That's
So these
sweet.
are guitar effect knobs. It's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing. So you can go on Amazon and you can pick these out in all kinds of different, like they even have skulls that you can use if you're really into it. And it's
That's
not a good
cool.
VFO knob, but I still like it. I got mine and one of the knobs was broken. So I immediately went out and started looking like what's the size on the knobs. And turns out they're the same, controls as on electric guitars.
I like it. That's a cool hack. We've got a super chat here with a question for you. Would you recommend the RC1BU firmware for the 6100 for a primary radio?
I would recommend it, and I'm gonna be pedantic on purpose. It's R1 CBU, and the only reason I'm saying it that way is because if somebody in the viewing audience goes and looks it up, they're not going to find it unless they type in R1 CBU, which is Oleg's call sign. That works on the 6100. It changes everything about the 6100's look and feel. He's got the band plan on the scope. It does CW decoding a little bit better. It has a bunch of different features to it, and it works out really well. But like I said, Oleg stopped developing it, and it does not work on the 6200.
Oh, okay. And that's what your screen that you were showing earlier, it has that on there? Is that
No, I don't run it myself.
Oh, you don't. I
I
see.
run the stock firmware.
Okay, gotcha. There was another question. Let me go back up here. We got a number of questions.
So R1 CBU, Oleg actually has gone out and started working on designing his own radio. So, keep an eye on him. He's a mover and a shaker.
There is a question about your antennas. Hey, Steve, I'm just looking at your Coffee and Ham Radio Mercury. What's the reason for toroid for a linked dipole? Is it I think they meant to say, is it a 1-to-1?
It is a 1-to-1, and that is to get rid of some common mode current issues. So you can build a dipole without it. You can build our dipole without it. All the kits are fully customizable, or you can build it with it, and then you can take it off later and see what you think about running with or without it. I have done both kinds of dipoles, and I don't hear enough of a difference. But a lot of that has to do with band conditions on the day. I mean, you'd have to sit there with an A/B switch and twist them back and forth pretty quick to hear the difference between two antennas on reception, and you'd have to talk to the exact same person at the exact same time. Because band conditions, if I run like a 15-minute window on one antenna and a 15-minute window on the next, the amount of contacts you make on FT8 is so variable for so many different reasons that you're not going to know why.
Yeah. TO from David W6OOD says, "Hey TO, do you have the schematic for the X6100? I accidentally knocked off my keyer jack and it took off the PCB pads. I need to wire it to other spots, but no schematic available."
I'm looking right now. Let's see if I can do like three things at once.
You're going to get real popular if you say you've got all these schematics. People are going to come out of the woodwork and start messaging you. Go join the Toads Discord to be able to contact Steve. I think he mentioned it earlier, but we weren't specific on which radios he had.
I got to download it from the cloud. Where is it? So I have it in my Dropbox. There it is. It's one of those things where the option on the menu is staring you straight in the face. Don't quote me yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have a maintenance manual, which may or may not have it in there. Oh, yeah. Message me on the Discord.
Yeah, or I guess they're saying post it.
I got all kinds of useful stuff in this manual.
Post it on the Toads Discord so that everybody can get it. That's what people are saying.
I think it is already out there because that's probably where I got it from.
Sure.
Yeah. What is it? It's 32 pages. It's got some flowchart type diagrams. It's got the circuit boards in it. It's got some test procedures. So page 16, fault phenomenon, failure to tune the quiescent current. Maintenance methods. First, check the welding of MOS tubes A and B. There is no short circuit. 2, check whether fuse S and power indicator H are broken or burned, etc. Directly measure with a multimeter via its on-off position. So, troubleshooting maintenance steps.
Yeah.
It's like the manual you'd have if you were in the shop doing radio repairs.
Or alignment. Sufo asks, what amplifier would be best to use with a QRP radio and how many watts? Do you use an amp with your radios?
There are, yeah, I do. I use the XPA125, the Xiegu amp, and it works really, really well. I'm not saying that because I'm a Xiegu fanboy, because I love and hate Xiegus just as well as anybody else does. But it's got a built-in tuner, which is the Xiegu tuner, and we all know and love. It has a bunch of protection circuitry built in so that you can, like, if you send it too much power, it says, whoa, back it off a bit, and stops so it doesn't hurt itself. If the SWR is way too far out, it'll stop transmitting. It'll say high SWR and won't hurt itself. So it's got some protection stuff built in. It is big. It is heavy. I want to say it's like 7 pounds. Don't quote me on that. It's in the video, and that was like 3 years ago. I don't go portable with it, other than the fact that I take my house with me wherever I go.
Right.
But I'm not carrying it out into the field or anything. I have put probably 2,000 or 3,000 FT8 contacts through it without any issue.
Really? Wow.
I've worked on it with the 705, with the G106, with the G90, with the 6100, with the 6200, with the 818, 817 set, the Xiegu radios. It's worked great with all of them. It needs to have a PTT. It doesn't do RF sense. I don't recommend RF sensing amps. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. What else? The Micro PA50 Plus is the next one that I'm really excited about, but I haven't gotten hands on. Don has used it. Chuck has used it. Tracy VE3TWM has used it. I've heard really good things about it.
That one is sensing, isn't it? Or
I think it's both but don't quote me on that, because I don't have it in hand. There's like so much stuff in ham radio that I can't keep it all in my head anymore. That's actually, between you and me, Josh, don't tell the people in the chat that are watching. Yeah. That's why I make videos. So I don't have to remember this stuff.
I was literally going back to, I was doing something I didn't remember doing, and I Googled it, and my video came up of me doing it. And I'm like, I don't
That's even worse.
I don't remember
I've
when I did this
never done
video.
this. Wait, here's me telling me how to do it.
Oh, thank you, me. Appreciate the help on that. Appreciate that. That was bad, but
Yeah.
yeah, that happens. That can't happen. Um,
A
I
senior
have
moment,
I
yeah.
have one stuck in here, so in this bag. I don't know how I got it so jammed in here, but I have that micro PA. It is smaller. I can give you that. It's pretty small.
No tuner.
No tuner. Yeah. For sure. Be careful with that, because you'll.
But get the ant tuner, the AT100 Plus or whatever it is, the new ANT tuner, ant tuner. I think it's the exact same form factor, or if not, it's
Oh, is it?
extremely close.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. So the ant tuner has a battery in it that charges off of USB power. So if you get the stack of like the micro SDX, the USDX,
Mhm.
and the ant tuner and the micro PA50, you're in business. And the ant tuner is a 100-watt tuner, so you put it on the other side of the amplifier, the far side. So radio amplifier tuner
And that's what you want it.
antenna.
Yeah. And what
Yes,
tuner was that?
definitely. Because you don't want to tune the connection between the radio and the
That doesn't
ANT
help you.
tuner, ant tuner.
The
Yeah.
ANT tuner. Okay.
Tune my perfect 50 amp match between my radio and my amplifier.
I don't.
Now, on an
Is
old
it?
tube amp, that might make sense, but
I don't know if I've got the right one here. It's just ANT, like the ant tuner. Huh.
yeah, like the animal.
Yeah, because the internet is giving me lots of options. Oh, this guy. I think it's this one. That one.
AT-100M. Yep,
AT-100M.
and that's the Pro model.
The
And I
Pro
think the
model.
Pro model, I think the Pro model is the one that has the built-in CW tuner, because you need a CW tuner in in a tuner,
Oh.
antenna tuner.
Yeah, you definitely need that.
Yeah.
Did you have another hot question or comment that you wanted to get to from your community tab? I know I didn't want to miss any of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. We talked about upgrades to the G90. There are some, but not revolutionary, just evolutionary. I'd love to know if the X6200 fixes the surface mount 3.5mm jacks that were failure prone on the 6100. I don't think so. They use surface mount 3.5mm jacks for the IQ, the key, the amplifier, PTT, the headphones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you are really rough with those, they will come off. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody. They'll just come off if you're more than gentle. You know how you have to shove the K connector into the Baofeng really hard in order to make sure you can run chirp with it?
Right.
That's too hard for the Xiegu radios.
You don't want to do that. Yeah. Be light. Okay.
When will the updates stop on the 6100? They did just release a 6100 update, but I would guarantee, and this is very easy to guarantee, that the 6100 updates will tail off.
Yeah.
And probably in about 2 years, that's a guess, probably in about 2 years, you'll probably stop seeing updates, because the last time they did an update for the G90 was almost a year ago.
It feels like with Xiegu that if the radio is very popular, they post updates. That seems to be their
The problem though is that they're not getting paid to make updates.
Right.
Like the ship has sailed. You bought the radio. You're done. They've earned all the coin they're getting from you on that old radio.
Right. There's not
so
a lot.
I don't begrudge them that.
No, and most companies work that way too. So I don't mean that as a negative. It's just you can almost track where
the
G90 was incredibly popular for them. And so you see a lot of these firmware updates that come out on the G90, and I think it's, it's all good. We like that. We're pretty
So
much,
I have an ICOM 7100. This is still a production model you can buy brand new, and the last firmware update on that was 2016.
That's a good point. In fact, they just did a kind of cost of life upgrade on that radio. So that got a bit of a tweak to it
and
recently.
there is a very glaring problem that needs a firmware update on that radio. My 7100 stopped transmitting on HF.
Really?
And all you need to do is a factory reset. So it's a software glitch that causes it.
Interesting. That's becoming a trend in a lot of our after chats, where it feels like once a month now we talk to somebody who they just have some funkiness in their radio, and they're literally a factory reset and it starts working again. And it's crazy that that's starting to happen, but I'm also not really surprised of how firmware dependent everything is nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're almost at the hour here. So is there anything you want to hit, Steve? You want to link anybody to, mention before we wrap up and go to the after chat?
Yeah, so the only thing I would mention is that, my channel, Temporarily Offline Ham Radio, I do a live stream on Monday nights where success is not guaranteed. We play with something. We've been playing with TNC's terminal node controllers. We're I want to say 0 for 5 now. We've got 5 different hardware versions that we've played with. PKT1, which we appear to have like the one of only 2 models in existence. There's no way to find documentation for this thing that's made by AEA. We've done the Packrat 232. We did a second 232 that a chip had fallen off, and all the legs fell off with it, so you couldn't just put it back in. I did a Cantronics last week. I'm waiting on a cable, so we won't be doing that tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do the LilyGo T Tower, which is it's exactly like your Pico APRS, Josh. It's
Oh, okay.
it's only $50. I don't want to say that with you present. You might hate me for it. But it's a pretty cool little radio. It's an ESP32 with a SA818 or DR818, the same thing that's in that new Android glue it to the back of your phone radio that is real popular. I can't remember the guy's call sign, Ken, because it just came out like 3 days ago.
KV4P.
That one, that's all the rage right now. Yeah, so it's just like that in what's going on inside. It's got a GPS and a screen in it. It's got a PTT button on side. It's a radio on its own. It doesn't require a phone, and then you can also connect it to your phone to do like APRS Droid. So that's what we're going to play with Monday night is APRS Droid on the LilyGo T Tower. And then I do regular videos where I just explore the ham radio space, maybe a little bit harder and more destructively than people would like. But, that's the fun for me is playing with stuff, taking stuff apart, making stuff do what it's not supposed to. So Radioddity sent me a CB radio, and I opened it up for 10 meters. So it does 10, 11, and 12. And I went from 4 watts to, it's not hard. I mean, it's a jumper and cut a wire. It was meant to do it.
Right.
But I still did it, so that's cool.
Did you play with that?
The
Q80? Was it the Q80? The Radioddity 10-meter radio that they came out with that's, multi-banded?
The one that looks like the Cobra?
No, not the one that came out
after that. Because they have the
Anytone
that. Clone.
Yeah, it's
okay. So there's the
version.
QT40, the QT60, and the QT80.
QT80. Yeah, that's the newer one.
I have not played with the 60 or the 80 yet.
Okay, the 80 is pretty cool. I did like that. It's like a AT 6666 plus. It's the very similar to that.
Yeah. It's on the list of things to play with, but that list is long, as you know. There's so much stuff to do in this hobby.
You can see the boxes behind Steve, right? Those are all the things you need to work on.
Each one of those is like 4 videos.
Right.
And then there's another set of boxes right in front of me. So like M17 stuff is coming up on the channel. I've got an FT100 from Xiegu, so I like to play with old radios too.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be running through. I've got a couple more videos on the 7100 before that one goes out the door. I've got some more antennas to play with. I did some Meshtastic stuff, but there's not a lot of Meshtastic in the areas that I go camping, so I don't get a lot of use case out of it.
You got to create your own.
So
network,
always something to play with. Yeah, but you can only talk to yourself so much.
Right. Go to the description. It's literally the first link. If you go to @temporarily offline, it'll take you right to his channel. And subscribe, guys. So I would appreciate that. All right, Steve, I'll let you hop off. You can get the party started if you want to just go right to the after chat if you're going to be able to hang out for a little while.
Okay.
And then I'm going to shut things down here.
Definitely.
So thank you so much. And I wanted to say thank you to you and your wife. I really appreciated hanging out with you guys at Huntsville. You guys were great with the hospitality. It was a wonderful time. So thanks for opening up your camper spot to us. We appreciated it.
Yeah, we had a couple of cookouts, and we're doing something again next year. I don't know what yet.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, hey, Huntsville's the place, guys. So do schedule your trip if you can make it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Steve, I appreciate you taking the time, and thanks. And I'll talk to you here in a couple of minutes.
All right. See ya.
See ya. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for hanging out. We're going to go turn things around and get over to the after chat. I end this live stream. I make a new live stream, and you can follow along over there. I want to give a big, big shout out to the patrons. Thank you so much for the support you guys give to allow me to do all the things that I do. It is very, very helpful. We do appreciate it. I mentioned the podcast now ad-free on Patreon, so you're just getting that. It doesn't matter what the level is. I'm dropping the podcast there every week, which is going to be pretty easy. I tested it out last night. It was straightforward. I didn't know why I was worried about it, so it's all good. So we appreciate you going through that. Good. Yeah, I like hearing that. Subscription's done for Steve. Yeah, he does a lot of really fun stuff. He's a tinkerer for sure, and he's got a good software background. So he does go down into the depths, and it's definitely something we need more of in the hobby, particularly in video format. And I like his open format with the Nugget Show. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I appreciate him coming out there. And yeah, mention again, Toads. I will grab a link for that. I think I can grab it off of one of his videos, and I'll update the description here to try and add that so we get the link out there as well. Because again, there's a lot of Discords. Toads is one of the good ones though. You know, they talk. The community there is real strong, and they do a lot of fun stuff as well. So check them out. I think we got through a lot of questions, but I was surprised. You guys were really coming at us strong with the questions, and maybe Steve will turn some of those questions we didn't get to on his community tab on the post there into some videos for folks, because I know he puts a lot of videos out too. So let's see. I think we got, yeah, thank you, Steve, again. Appreciate that from the chat. Anything else? Let me go up the line here. Question, James, hang out. Oh, Coffee Club. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the Coffee Club membership. We appreciate it. Question, would the G90 replace my IC703 Plus? If it's not multi or all band, then probably. I don't know. You might want to join us on the after chat so you can kind of walk us through what you do with the radio. All right, guys, I'm going to go set up for the after chat. Hopefully you'll join us out there. Appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you again soon, like in a couple of minutes. 73.